Well, here we are at the middle of the week. I'm Marlon Bowling with you, and we have Rich Nelson on the line. He's with Allendale Incorporated in McHenry, Illinois. We're going to try and sort out some of the things that may be affecting the ag commodity trade. And Rich, let's talk about the grain side here first. What's going to be the news items to keep an eye on today?
You know, obviously we're watching trade discussions and these type of issues, and in fact we'll also be talking about maybe some NAFTA discussions going on today in terms of maybe general interest stories. In terms of other pieces of news, I think a lot of trade is also discussing maybe some newer developments regarding planting with Brazil, those type of issues, which certainly has seen some activity start, and certainly based on the recent rainfall, which has been a little below normal in the northern regions. This might be something more. We'll see a quick start to planting for Brazil, and we'll see about the total numbers, though, once it's all said and done.
Seems funny that it's that time of year already down there. What are the prospects? How much acreage do they intend to put in this year? Do you know?
A good argument here, and certainly in the past few weeks we've been talking of maybe a 5-6% year-over-year increase in soybean planting for Brazil. Kind of interest in the past couple weeks, though, we've heard more moderate numbers, perhaps a 2 or 3% increase. So definitely little arguments going on, and we'll see about this once it's all said and done here.
All right, let's take a look at our overnight trade. And in the corn and the soybeans and the wheat, at times we had a firmer tone overnight. Let's take a look at this corn market first of all, where we had that December contract showing just a slight gain this morning. It was up 3/4 cent at 3.44, and March up 3/4 cent at 3.56 per bushel. On the soybean side, had about a penny or so gain overnight. November up a penny and a half at 8.15 per bushel. January up a penny and a half as well. In the wheat market overnight, we had the Chicago December contract gaining 6.25 cents at 5.16 and in Kansas City wheat, we had December trading 7.5 higher at 5.23 and the Minneapolis wheat has that December contract trading a nickel higher overnight at 5.85 The wheat market seems to be kind of in its own little world here this past few days. Do you think that they have finally found some solid support under that wheat market for the time being?
Yeah, that's probably the best way of putting it. Maybe in the time being here, this dip we had below $5 on the December Chicago contract probably was seen as maybe a value area. We do have our production issues to discuss around the world, but as we noted, until we get this change on the U.S. export picture, which has not happened yet, we can't suggest that we're going to see another rally here at this point. So I think we've got a good value going on, anything below $5, but we don't have a strong reason to rally here just yet, though.
Real quickly, that heavy rain moving through the northwestern part of the Corn Belt again today, right on the heels of the same path yesterday. Do you think that would overall be supportive to the futures on the corn, or would that be bearish?
It certainly can give us some stability here. And maybe one thing to also point out is kind of different about the new updates with the forecast is this idea that rains or above normal rains may continue now in the next week or so. So if that is the case, perhaps we'll have a small hiccup and maybe a little support for grains here. Interesting.
Okay, Rich, we'll come back in a moment and we'll examine our livestock trade today on a Wednesday. Rich Nelson is our guest, and we'll be back right after this message. We're talking with Rich Nelson of Allendale Incorporated, and we're going to talk about our livestock trade here on a Wednesday and what to expect. Yesterday had a big gain in the hog market. We had, well, it looks like some fair to moderate losses in the cattle market yesterday. So it did not keep up with the surge that we have seen in the hogs. Of course, I understand there are different dynamics at work here. The hogs have had one eye on the fallout from the Hurricane Florence that went through. And I know Janet was just reading a story here a short time ago about losses, livestock losses in the Carolinas. Very significant losses on the poultry, maybe surprisingly light to some in the hog losses, if that's actually going to pan out there. So overall, what's the impact going to be on the livestock markets here today now that the storm is all done and we're just kind of picking up the pieces here?
You know, we did have the surprising rebound yesterday in hog prices, which we don't expect to see a follow through for today's discussion, though. Maybe a little more mixed trade here. You mentioned this 5,500 head from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture in terms of estimates there. That is a slightly more than the 2016 hurricane, but quite a bit less than the 1999 Hurricane Floyd, where we did have that extended hog price rally afterwards. So On this one, we're not going to get too excited about these numbers, and we'll probably be more focused on this slaughter issue as far as these hog plants. We do have word we'll have one of those other plants lined up here today starting, but still that third plant from our main company we watch, they won't be going here today yet, so maybe not full speed there at this time.
So I'm looking at the cash cattle trade activity from yesterday, and it yielded a big goose egg. No activity once again. Do you think the trade is going to sit on its hands until after the cattle on feed report again this Friday?
Actually, we do think so, especially the fact is we got placements are seen maybe a little higher than last year, and that might be considered a little bearish issue. Also, don't forget, Packers lost last week pretty good. They paid up $3 for cash cattle in the face of declining wholesale beef. So we do think that they'll be a little more resistant for this week's discussion, maybe limiting prices to steady on this week's trade.
So on the cash cattle trade, nothing moving yesterday, although we did have some reports when it comes to the national hog sales. So for plant-delivered carcass basis hogs, actually $2.26 higher on the national average yesterday. The weighted average price worked out to be $52.92, and even on the live basis hogs yesterday, they gained $2.19 at $39.98 for the weighted average. So a big push higher there yesterday afternoon. We'll see what happens this morning. Thank you, Rich, for the update. Good to hear from you again, and we'll talk again soon. Rich Nelson of Allendale Incorporated in McHenry, Illinois. Janet, it's almost that time to find out what the markets are going to do.